¿Es una persona?
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Ah!
The most terrifying camping encounter is the one you never see coming. These clips will show you exactly why you should always look over your shoulder. From a shadowy figure gliding behind an oblivious girl, to a family vanishing into the rugged bush for years, the evidence is undeniable. Whether it's a hidden Bigfoot or something worse, are you ready to see what's out there? A boy was camping and moving through the woods at night, filming himself as he followed a dark path. At first, everything felt calm and silent. Then, without warning, something changed.
Oh my gosh!
From the darkness, a human-like shape suddenly jumped into view, shocking him so badly that he turned and ran as fast as he could. The video only shows quick, unstable flashes of the figure as he tries to escape. It's unclear what he actually saw, something unusual in the forest, or just someone trying to scare him. Either way, the moment felt real enough to trigger pure panic. Maybe it was nothing, or maybe it was something he couldn't fully see. So what do you think was really out there? A woman sat alone in her car after finishing a long hike when she took a selfie. She sent it to a friend who quickly noticed something unusual and told her to check behind her. Confused, she looked at the image again. In the rear window, a hand could be seen. It hadn't been there when she took the photo, or at least she hadn't noticed or heard anything at the time. When she looked around outside, no one else was there. Everything was completely still. Some versions of the story say she disappeared not long after sending the picture, though there isn't much information to confirm what happened next. It could be a simple detail missed in the moment, or something harder to explain. So what do you think really appeared in that photo? YouTuber UV Pariopti Vlogs was hiking by himself when he began to hear unusual sounds. Curious but slightly uneasy, he chose to follow the direction they were coming from. That's when he spotted movement along the mountainside ahead. He quickly raised his camera, trying to record whatever was there. What appeared in the footage was disturbing. It seemed like a human-shaped figure on all fours, with long dark hair and what looked like horns on its head. Seconds later, the video suddenly cut off right after he zoomed in. Whatever was out there, and whatever it was doing, was never explained. It might be something missing at a distance, or something harder to identify. But why would anything like that be alone on a mountain at all? This clip is believed to date back to the early 2000s and was reportedly found by a park ranger. No one knows who filmed it, and there's no record of what happened to that person afterward. In the footage, the camera suddenly begins to shake as someone runs through the trees. Their breathing becomes heavy, making it clear they are trying to escape something behind them. Then something appears, and the video cuts off without any explanation. It may have been a lost recording later recovered from a camping area, or just a story tied to unclear footage. But if it was real, what made someone run like that in the first place? A woman named Tammy had just arrived home around 9 o'clock at night after visiting her sister. It felt like a normal evening. She was halfway out of her car when she suddenly heard something behind her. When she turned, she saw someone across the street. The person was wearing a headlamp, standing upright, and calmly made a simple greeting. Tammy wasn't sure whether to respond or go inside. Then, without warning, the person dropped onto all fours and continued moving down the street. Shaken, Tammy went into her house and checked her security camera. The footage had captured everything, and even more. In the recording, the person can be seen walking normally at one point before lowering themselves again and continuing on all fours. Tammy later shared the video online and confirmed the encounter was real. It could be unusual behavior or something taken out of context. But why would someone act like that in the middle of the night in a quiet neighborhood? TikTok user Ed Yukon Training shared a video from a late-night walk with his dogs. For the first few minutes, everything appeared normal. Then something shifted, and the dogs began to act differently.
Quieto!
Within seconds, they started barking aggressively, completely focused on something ahead that their owner couldn't clearly see. Concerned, he turned the camera toward whatever had caught their attention. and that's when it appeared.
¿Es una persona?
In the distance, a figure in a long white dress could be seen standing still. Some viewers believe it was just a prank, but that doesn't fully explain the reaction. Dogs usually recognize people quickly, so if it was something ordinary, why did they respond like that? While out camping, this person came across something that quickly caught their attention. At first, it looked like a normal snake resting on the ground, but when they took a closer look, something unusual stood out. On top of the snake's head were what looked like feathers, arranged almost like a small crown. Some people suggested it could be a rare mutation or a natural deformity. Others pointed to a more troubling idea, that someone may have placed the feathers on the animal as a prank or for attention. There have been past cases where snakes were found with objects glued or tied to them, often for social media content. There's no clear explanation for what happened to this one. It might have been natural or something caused by human action. But if it was done on purpose, why would someone do that to an animal? In 2011, a man was filming the water off the coast of Argentina when something dark and unusual appeared. On the surface, it looked like a large wake or a strange shape moving through the waves. Some people thought it resembled an otter, possibly dragging seaweed or a net behind it while swimming just below the surface. Others pointed out that at certain moments, two shapes seemed to appear, suggesting there may have been more than one animal in the water. Because the footage was shaky and low in quality, it was difficult to tell exactly what it was. It might have been a simple misidentified animal, or something harder to explain. So what do you think was really moving through the water? In the forests of West Virginia, a hiker recorded something unusual at night while passing an old abandoned building. As he walked by, he began to feel like he was being watched. That's when he noticed it, something standing inside the structure. Whatever it was barely moved, almost as if it was trying to stay unnoticed. But its eyes stood out, faintly reflecting in the low light. Some viewers suggested it could have been a juvenile Bigfoot, which might explain the smaller size and cautious behavior. But the low-quality footage and lack of clear detail make it impossible to confirm what it really was. It may have been just an animal in the shadows, or something harder to explain. So what do you think was watching from inside that building? A person was out camping in the Acadian woods in Canada when they captured something that looked almost otherworldly. In the footage, a strange figure can be seen standing among the trees, unlike anything normally found in the forest. Its body appears thin and angular, almost insect-like, similar to a grasshopper. The head looks elongated, giving it an almost extraterrestrial appearance. Some viewers say it looks like something from a sci-fi movie, while others wonder if it could be an unknown cryptid hiding deep in the woods, or something not from this world. With footage this unusual, it's hard not to question its authenticity. It could be a visual trick or something misinterpreted, but if it wasn't, then what exactly was standing out there in the forest? In December 2021, a New Zealand father named Tom Phillips vanished into the wilderness with his 3 children from the small rural town of Maricopa. Authorities believed he took them after losing legal custody, and when he failed to appear in court in 2022, a nationwide search began. The area around Maricopa is extremely rugged, with dense bush, steep hills, caves, and a harsh coastline. Phillips was known locally as an experienced bushman and hunter, which many believe helped him survive in the wild for years while avoiding police. Over time, there were occasional sightings. In 2023, people reported seeing him and the children camping in remote parts of the Waikato region. In a widely shared video filmed by teenagers in October 2024, the group was seen moving through thick brush, all wearing camouflage and carrying large backpacks. The footage suggested they were still living deep in the bush. Authorities also suspected Phillips may have been involved in several break-ins and robberies during that time, possibly to gather supplies. The case drew national attention. Then, in the early hours of September 8, 2025, everything came to an end. Police responded to a reported robbery at a commercial property in the small town of Piopio. Officers soon spotted Phillips riding a quad bike with one of his children, and a pursuit began. Road spikes were deployed, forcing the vehicle off the road. As officers approached, gunfire broke out. One officer was struck in the head and seriously injured. A second police unit responded, and the confrontation ended with Phillips being fatally shot at the scene. The child with him was found alive. That child later gave key information that helped police locate the other 2 children at a remote campsite deep in the bush. Later that same day, all 3 children were found alive and physically unharmed, ending the nearly 4-year search. Their mother later said she felt relief that it was finally over, though she also described the outcome as heartbreaking. It may show how survival skills in isolation can sustain someone for years, or raise deeper questions about what support may have existed. But how did they remain hidden for so long? And what really happened during those years out there? On June 24, 2023, 28-year-old Ian O'Brien set out on a solo hike to camp in the La Plata Mountains of Colorado, near Echo Basin and Hesperus Mountain. He was an experienced outdoorsman who knew the rugged terrain well. Friends described him as someone who loved exploring the wilderness and often went into the mountains alone. That afternoon, he began scouting a route toward the summit of Hesperus Mountain. Around 6 p.m., he sent a photo of himself at the top to his partner, showing he had made it. After that moment, something went wrong. Ian never returned to camp. When he failed to come back that evening, his partner and friends became concerned and contacted authorities. Search and rescue teams began scanning the steep, overgrown terrain around the mountain. After several days, the official search was suspended, but friends, volunteers, and members of the local community continued looking for him. For weeks, dozens of people searched the wilderness around Echo Basin, determined to find their missing friend. Then, on September 2nd, 2023, nearly 10 weeks after he disappeared, 2 fishermen made a discovery in a remote part of the West Mancos River. They had found a body. The Montezuma County coroner later confirmed it was Ian O'Brien. Investigators determined his death was caused by accidental drowning. Officials explained that his body had likely been hidden beneath several feet of water, making it impossible to see during earlier searches. The discovery brought some closure, but the loss was still deeply felt. It may have been a tragic accident in difficult terrain, or a moment where conditions turned quickly. But what exactly led to that final outcome? A man was walking through a quiet forest when he decided to film his surroundings. That's when something unusual appeared on the trail ahead. A shadow shaped exactly like a human crossed the path, yet no one was there to cast it. The form looked clear and defined, making it stand out against the ground. It could have been a simple play of light, but the shape seemed too precise to ignore. Maybe it was just a visual effect, or something not fully understood. So what do you think could create a shadow with no one there? In April 2024, 37-year-old Danielle Lopez went on a camping trip in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. She told her mother she would be staying at Brendan T. Burns State Forest Campground for the weekend. Danielle had some camping experience from childhood, but was not known as a frequent camper. The next morning, April 13th, she stopped at a Wawa convenience store in Vincenttown, New Jersey around 9 a.m. Security cameras recorded her buying a cup of coffee, which became the last confirmed public sighting of her. Days later, when she stopped answering calls, her mother became concerned and reported her missing to the New Jersey State Police. On April 24th, investigators found Danielle's car, a 2008 blue Hyundai Accent, on Lost Lane, a remote dirt road deep in the woods about 13 miles from the Wawa. The vehicle was stuck in a large puddle in the sand, and the battery was dead. When they jump-started it, the hazard lights turned on. Inside, police found several of her personal belongings, but her phone was missing. Despite extensive searches of the surrounding forest using drones, helicopters, search dogs, ATVs, and ground teams, there was no sign of Danielle. Then investigators uncovered something unexpected. 2 people who had been filming with a GoPro in the area on April 13th came forward. Their footage showed Danielle walking down Lost Lane around 6 p.m. that evening. She appeared calm and showed no signs of distress. That short clip became the last known sighting of her. Since then, authorities have interviewed dozens of people and followed every lead, but there is no evidence pointing to foul play. After months of searching, Danielle has still not been found. Her mother continues to hope for her return, placing a yellow ribbon on a tree outside her home as a sign of welcome. It may have been a situation that escalated in isolation, or something that left little trace behind. But what really happened after she was last seen walking alone on that remote road? A person was hiking alone through a dense forest when they decided to record their surroundings, capturing only a few seconds of footage that stood out. In that short clip, a large, hairy figure can be seen moving slowly between the trees, seemingly unaware of the camera. The shape closely matches the typical description often associated with Bigfoot. The video quality is low, making it difficult to clearly identify what is being seen. It could be a misidentified animal or something unclear caught on camera. But with technology today, shouldn't footage like this be easier to confirm? The Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization shared an unusual photo on Facebook. At first, it looks like a typical hiking picture, with a man standing on a trail, unaware of anything out of place. But when you look closer, something seems to be just a few feet away. Rising from the brush in front of him is a tall, dark shape. It appears to have a head, broad shoulders, and a solid body partially hidden among the trees, blending almost perfectly into the surroundings. There is also a simpler explanation. It could be pareidolia, where the brain turns shadows, branches, and uneven foliage into something that looks human. Maybe it's just a tree trunk, a broken branch, or darker leaves creating the illusion of a figure. It may be a natural pattern or something interpreted too quickly. But when you look at the image, what do you actually see? A group of friends were hiking through a forest, recording their day so they could look back on it later. The mood was relaxed, and nothing seemed unusual at the time. But while reviewing the footage afterward, they noticed something they hadn't seen before. In the background, partially hidden between the trees, something was moving slowly. A figure appeared to crawl forward, its body bent at an unnatural angle, dragging itself across the ground. The movement didn't look normal, and the closer it seemed to get, the more unsettling it became. Then the clip suddenly ended, and no further explanation was ever shared. It might have been something misinterpreted in the distance, or something harder to identify. But what exactly was moving through the trees like that? TikTok user Temporary Feels shared a disturbing encounter clip from a backyard security camera late at night. The footage shows a strange figure with twisted legs moving across the yard. Some viewers thought it might be a sick coyote, a mangy animal, or even a mountain lion affected by disease. Others considered a more unusual possibility, something harder to explain. No clear answer was ever confirmed, but the video left a strong sense of unease. It could be an animal in poor condition or something misidentified. But what kind of creature moves like that? TikTok user Russia A was making an early morning Amazon Flex delivery in South Carolina when the situation took an unsettling turn.
Scary movie. Y'all ain't about to get me.
As she pulled up to one of her assigned stops, she noticed something unusual in the yard. A pair of glowing eyes stared from behind a set of lawn chairs in a small outhouse. At first, it seemed like it could be a reflection or a pet, but the way the eyes tracked her movement made her uneasy. The yard itself looked abandoned and strange, adding to the tension of the moment. Deciding it wasn't safe to continue, she chose to leave without completing the delivery. It might have been an animal hidden in the dark or something misinterpreted, but what exactly was watching her from that yard? This disturbing camping encounter footage is about a man who visited an old abandoned construction site and immediately felt uneasy. Even before he started filming, he had already noticed strange things around the unfinished building. That feeling led him to take out his camera as he carefully moved through the dark structure, shining a flashlight across bare concrete walls and empty doorways. Then, something caught his attention.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Ah!
In the beam of light, a figure appeared. It stood there briefly, but before he could get a clearer look, it disappeared. Startled and shaken, he didn't stay to investigate. He quickly turned around and left the site. Some viewers believe it could have been something tied to the location, possibly connected to the disturbed land. It might have been a trick of light or something missing in the dark. But what actually stood there for that brief moment? A visitor to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, shared a photo taken from the top of Devil's Den. At first glance, it looks like a completely normal scene, with nothing unusual standing out. But when the image is zoomed in toward the tree line, something strange appears. Partially hidden among the trees, a blurry figure can be seen. It almost looks like something standing there, watching. The person who took the photo said no one was in that area at the time. Considering Devil's Den is one of the most historic and reportedly haunted spots at Gettysburg, some believe it could be connected to the past. Others say it's just shadows, light distortion, or pareidolia. It might be a simple visual effect or something interpreted from the environment. But in a place like that, What do you think is really being seen? In September 2025, 6-year-old Darius McDougall disappeared during a family camping trip in the Crowsnest Pass region of Alberta, Canada, near Island Lake Campground. That weekend, a large group of relatives had gathered to celebrate several birthdays. There were 10 children at the campsite, including Darius. At one point, the children were asked to help clean up while the adults packed. During that time, Darius and 2 other children walked across a nearby body of water to play. About 20 minutes later, the 2 children came back, but Darius was no longer with them. His family immediately began searching the area, calling his name through the forest. When they couldn't find him, they contacted the RCMP, who arrived within about 30 to 45 minutes. What followed was a large-scale search effort. More than 400 volunteers from Alberta, British Columbia, and Saskatchewan joined, along with 60 RCMP officers. Search teams used dogs, helicopters, drones, ATVs, and ground crews to cover the rugged terrain. Despite the effort, no trace of Darius was found. After 11 days, the official ground search was ended. Investigators later said there was no clear evidence of abduction, though the case remains open. The search was made more difficult because Darius is autistic, meaning he might not respond when called. Teams even played his favorite song in the forest, hoping it would bring him out. Months later, his family still returns to the site where he was last seen, refusing to lose hope. It may have been a situation where he moved farther than expected, or something that left no clear trace. But what really happened to him after those final moments? Some hikers came across a strange phenomenon on a road during their trek. The asphalt appeared to bubble, forming unusual pockets across the surface, almost as if the ground was boiling. When these spots were opened, large stones were found underneath. Each pocket seemed to contain similar rocks, leaving everyone confused. No one there could explain why it was happening. It could be a natural process or something related to the structure beneath the road, or possibly human involvement. But what would cause something like that to form in the first place? TikTok user Brandon Fleetwood was at home playing the online game Geoguessr. In the game, players are placed in random locations using Street View images and must guess where they are in the world. During one round, Brandon landed on a quiet country road and noticed a parked truck in the image. To his surprise, the numbers matched exactly. The vehicle in the game looked identical to the truck parked outside his building. Since Geoguessr uses locations from all over the world, the coincidence seemed unusual. It could have been a rare overlap or something easily explained by chance. But how likely is it to see the exact same truck from your own location appear in a random game? A man was driving along a quiet forest road late at night on his way to his campsite when something unusual caught his attention. As he continued slowly down the trail, his dash cam recorded the moment. A large, dark figure crossed the road ahead. The headlights lit it just enough to reveal a tall silhouette with a hunched posture, moving in a strangely human-like way. Startled, the driver brought the car to a stop, unsure of what he had just seen. It could have been an animal briefly caught in the light, or something misinterpreted in motion. But what kind of figure moves like that on a road at night? A man was filming during a nighttime hike, slowly panning across the trees when something made him stop.
Fuck. What the is that? What is that?
In the distance, something was standing there. When he zoomed in, it didn't look familiar. The figure appeared upright, facing toward him as if watching. Moments later, he turned and ran. Some viewers later suggested it could have been a person wearing a mask, which would still be unsettling. It might have been someone in the area or something misidentified in the dark. But what exactly was standing there watching him? In 2022, Instagram user SquatchMeNow shared a drone video of a remote forest in Texas that appeared to capture something unusual. As the drone moved over the trees, a large bipedal figure came into view in an open area. Its arms hung low past its knees, and its body looked stocky, with a rounded, dome-shaped head and no visible neck. The shape closely matched common descriptions often linked to Bigfoot. Unlike typical footage where shadows or foliage can create illusions, thermal imaging showed a living heat signature. Still, it's difficult to confirm what it actually was. It could be a misidentified animal or something unclear captured from above. But how can we be sure what's real in footage like this? A woman returned home around 4 o'clock in the morning and immediately noticed something unusual in the snow outside her house and her neighbors. Fresh footprints had circled the entire property, forming a strange pattern, as if something had slowly walked around the homes in the dark. Confused and uneasy, she began recording. The prints looked large and didn't resemble dog tracks or anything she recognized. What disturbed her most wasn't just the size, but the lack of a clear trail. There were no visible footprints leading into the area. It looked as if something had simply appeared, walked in circles around the property, and then disappeared. Some suggested the wind may have covered part of the tracks, but that doesn't explain everything. So what could have left those prints in the first place? While walking through a forest at night, a man heard strange noises and assumed it was just a small animal. With a flashlight in hand, he began recording. Instead, he captured something far more unsettling. A humanoid figure suddenly appeared, facing him directly. After a brief moment, he ran in fear. The details remain unclear, but he believed it might have been something unusual. It could have been a misidentified figure in the dark, or something harder to explain. Reddit user Vladimir Isachenko recently brought attention to what many consider one of the earliest clips of a Bigfoot-like figure ever recorded, dating back to August 1999. The footage is often referred to as a forgotten Russian Bigfoot video and was later featured in documentaries aired on Channel 1 between 2003 and 2009. In the old video, an unidentified figure can be seen moving along a cliffside, quietly scanning its surroundings. Some viewers believe it resembles a wild man, a tall, upright figure unlike any known animal in the area. Others point out its unusual movement, suggesting it may be linked to a rare condition affecting how it walks. There's no clear answer to what was actually captured. It could be something misidentified or a person moving in an unusual way. But what do you think was really seen in that footage all those years ago? Late one night, a homeowner in Brazil was checking his security camera when something caught his attention. Curious, he went outside to take a closer look. That's when he recorded it. The shape was difficult to make out, but it appeared large and upright. As the flashlight from the camera moved across the yard, the figure suddenly disappeared into the darkness. The video ends there, offering no clear explanation. It could have been something briefly caught in the light or something missing in the dark, but what was standing there before it vanished. A father took a photo of his daughter while visiting the grounds of Tamworth Castle in Staffordshire. At the time, the image seemed completely normal. Later, while sharing the photo with family, something unusual was noticed. In the background, two unexplained figures could be seen. Neither the father nor his daughter remembered anyone standing there when the picture was taken. Tamworth Castle has long been linked to reports of strange activity. Local stories even connect the site to a nun said to have lived there in the 9th century. It could be a case of pareidolia or something tied to the location's history. But what do you think was really captured in that photo? A Reddit user was helping escort a church group to a weekend camp in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. The trip included activities like climbing, hiking, boating, and visiting a small nature center and museum on the property. Inside the center were displays of antlers, animal bones, turtle shells, arrowheads, and old pottery. Everything seemed educational and harmless. But while examining the items, something stood out. One bone didn't look right, and he recognized it immediately. As an environmental scientist, he had studied bones before. This one wasn't from any woodland animal. It was a human mandible. He quickly informed the camp director, and state police began an investigation. The bone was analyzed, but no missing person reports matched it. There were no recent disappearances and nothing pointing to a modern case. The land had a history before becoming a camp, once used for timber work and ice harvesting until the 1920s, where workers lived under difficult conditions. To this day, no identity has ever been linked to the bone. It may have been something left behind from the past, or something that was never recorded. But how does something like that end up unnoticed for so long? A man was taking photos of his daughter while she was doing a handstand. At the time, everything seemed normal. Later, when he reviewed the pictures at home, something unusual caught his attention. In the background, the shape of a little girl could be seen. Neither he nor his daughter had noticed anyone there while the photo was taken, and the figure only appeared afterward. Concerned, the man contacted authorities who searched the area but found no sign of the girl. Some suggested the image could have been altered, but the family believes that wasn't possible. It might be a visual artifact or something misinterpreted in the image. But if no one was there, then what was captured in the background? A woman was driving home in the northwest of the United Kingdom around 2 a.m. when something unusual appeared on her dash cam as she changed lanes. When the footage is zoomed in, the figure looks tall and unnaturally stiff, with its arms extended forward, moving in a way that doesn't seem quite human. It could have been a person walking alone. But at that hour and in that area, pedestrians are extremely rare, making it difficult to explain. She still has no clear idea what she saw. It might have been someone moving in an unusual way, or something misinterpreted in the dark. But what kind of figure moves like that on an empty road? Two friends were visiting Gettysburg when one of them took a photo while exploring the area. The image shows a bridge at night, with their friend standing on the other side holding a flashlight. At first, nothing seemed out of place. But later, when they looked at the photo again, something unusual stood out. In the middle of the bridge, a faint, blurry figure appears to be walking, barely visible in the darkness. What makes it more unsettling is that they said no one else was on the bridge at the time. It could be a shadow or something misread in low light. But if no one was there, what is that shape in the middle of the bridge? A Reddit user known as Ghost in a Chair Tattoo was out camping in the mountains when he heard what sounded like a woman screaming. He shined his flashlight into the darkness, but there was no one in sight. Not wanting to risk going deeper into the woods, he stayed where he was. Some people suggested it was just coyotes, while others weren't so sure, saying sounds like that should be taken seriously. It could have been an animal call mistaken for something else or something unclear in the distance. But if it wasn't, what made that sound in the middle of the night? A person was outside somewhere in California, recording the night sky when a strange and unsettling sound suddenly filled the air.
What could be the cause of that?
The noise was low and deep, echoing in a way that felt unusual. It was paired with a rumbling that seemed to shake the ground. At first, some viewers thought it could be heavy construction equipment in the distance, but there were no buildings or structures nearby that could produce or reflect that kind of sound. The noise seemed to spread across the open sky without a clear source. What happened after that remains unknown. It could have been a distant natural or mechanical sound carried in an unusual way, but if there was no visible source, what could create something like that? A man set out to hike and camp along a forest trail in California late one night, carrying only a small flashlight. He moved deeper into the darkness, with nothing but the sound of his steps and the quiet forest around him. For a while, everything felt calm. Then his flashlight picked up movement ahead. A tall shape slowly stepped onto the trail. The outline looked human, upright, broad, and completely silent. Overcome with fear, he turned and ran. Later, when he shared the footage, some suggested it was just another person out at night. But that raises a question. If it was a person, why didn't they react or say anything when a bright light was pointed right at them? It could have been someone staying still or something misread in the dark. But what actually stepped onto that trail in front of him? A security guard at Banning High School in California reported a strange figure appearing on campus 3 nights in a row. He said it had horn-like shapes on its head that seemed to grow with each sighting, and a teacher also claimed to see it. He eventually captured a photo, but what it was, and if it came back, remains unknown. It could have been a misidentified shape or something unclear. But what would appear like that multiple times? A young man was walking through snowy woods with his mother. At first, everything felt calm, until they noticed unusual footprints in the snow. Curious, they followed the tracks and eventually saw what had made them. In the distance, 2 dark figures moved through the forest. From afar, the shapes looked unclear. It could have been a person in winter clothing with a dog, or something misinterpreted in the snow. But what do you think was really leaving those tracks? A man chose to explore the woods around midnight for unknown reasons, even though he was far from any nearby area. At first, everything seemed calm. Then something changed. Strange sounds came from somewhere nearby, but whatever was making them stayed out of sight. The man didn't stay to find out what it was and left the area. It could have been an animal hidden in the dark or something misheard in the forest. But why was he there alone at that hour to begin with? A person set up a trail camera deep in the woods of Vermont. Later, while reviewing the footage, something unexpected stood out. The video shows a quiet forest covered in snow. Then, from the edge of the frame, a tall humanoid figure walks into view before disappearing behind a group of trees. Compared to the surrounding trees, the figure appears unusually tall. Some viewers believe it could be a Bigfoot, pointing to its dark shape and overall form. Others think it might just be a person in heavy winter clothing. It could be something misjudged by distance or perspective. But what do you think was actually captured on that camera? A man said he had just returned home from work and was walking through his backyard into the house when he saw something he couldn't explain and began recording. A tall, dark figure stood there, unclear and hard to identify. The video quickly spread online, but no further information or updates were ever shared. It could have been staged or simply unclear footage with no context. But if it wasn't, what exactly was standing there in his backyard? A man was on vacation with his family, enjoying the calm view of a quiet lakeside area. While filming the scenery, he noticed something unusual across the water. Two pale, humanoid shapes appeared on the opposite side, moving in a way that was difficult to explain. They seemed to show up suddenly, drifting across the landscape without any clear source. And then just as quickly, they disappeared. The figures looked almost ghost-like, with smooth, unnatural movement. Some believe it was a camera glitch or an optical illusion, but the way they moved made it harder to ignore. It could have been a visual effect or something misinterpreted on camera. But what do you think was really seen across that water? Reddit user Cold Deck was filming their surroundings while driving when they unintentionally captured something unsettling. At first glance, it's easy to dismiss the image. The long, dark shape could be mistaken for a palm tree branch nearby. But when viewed more carefully, the figure appears to stand at a distance from the tree, revealing something more unusual. The shape resembles a pale woman in a long, flowing white dress. Its faint, almost transparent form and still posture give it a presence often linked to familiar ghost stories. It could be a visual overlap or something misread in motion. But how would something like that appear separate from the tree? A camper was relaxing on a patch of grass when something unusual caught their attention. At first, it looked like a normal grasshopper, but a closer look revealed something very different. Red, unnatural growths were coming out of its body, twisting outward as if something inside was taking control. The insect had been infected by a parasite known as Ophiocordyceps, a fungus that targets insects. Once it attaches, the fungus spreads through the host, consuming it from the inside. Even after the insect dies, the fungus continues to grow, pushing out stalk-like structures that release spores to infect others. It may seem disturbing, but it's part of a natural process. But how does something like this even happen in the wild? While camping in an old shed, a man recorded something unusual. The video shows a wolf spider carrying dozens of baby spiders on its back. When the light hits it, the reflection makes it look almost shiny. It could be normal behavior, or just a visual effect. But would you stay there? Facebook user Nico Williams shared photos taken by a woman who noticed strange footprints near her home around 7:30 p.m. The tracks came from the woods and led to her driveway. Her husband measured them at about 35 inches apart, with each print around 9 to 10 inches wide. They had seen bears before, but not prints like these. Some say it could be a bear, others aren't sure. It might be an animal track misread. But what leaves prints like that? A CCTV camera captured a girl walking across a road when something unusual appeared behind her. A dark humanoid shadow formed and moved quickly, almost gliding, matching her pace step by step while she remained unaware. It could have been a camera issue or a visual effect in the footage, but if it wasn't, what was moving behind her like that? A trail camera in Laredo, Texas captured something unusual. The footage shows a figure that appears to be floating, with large dark wings spread wide. Some viewers suggested it could be something supernatural, but the shape and movement closely match a bird taking off. It may look mysterious at first, but it's likely a normal animal seen at the right moment. So why does it seem so different on camera? Reddit user McQuackens heard unsettling noises coming from a storm drain and decided to record them. Some people suggested it could be animals like raccoons or large sewer rats, possibly fighting or making distress calls. But no one could clearly identify the source. Everyone agreed on one thing. The sound was disturbing. It could be normal animal behavior echoing through the drain or something harder to recognize. But what would make a noise like that? A GoPro mounted on a four-wheeler captured an unexpected moment along a forest trail. The rider was moving through the woods when something appeared ahead. A dark figure crossed the trail in the distance. Even from far away, it looked large, tall, and broad, moving on two legs. Some viewers suggested it could be an ape or gorilla, but animals like that don't live in this area. Because of its size and upright movement, many pointed to one idea. The figure disappeared into the trees within seconds, leaving no clear detail behind. It could have been something misjudged at a distance or an unknown shape in motion. But what actually crossed that trail? In June 2018, during a camping trip, Jesus Guayardo came across an old cemetery. As unusual things began to happen, he decided to start recording. Later, while reviewing the footage, he noticed something he hadn't seen at the time. A figure briefly appeared in the top corner, seeming to move in and out of view. It could have been another person nearby or something misinterpreted in the video. But if no one else was there, what was moving through the frame like that? A family was driving along a quiet country road when one of them began recording the view. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in the distance. There was nothing around for miles, no houses, no buildings, just a glowing orb hovering in the open area, almost as if it had its own movement. The family couldn't explain what they saw. It could have been a reflection or something distant misread in the dark. But if there was nothing out there, what was that light? A man went into the woods at night when a sharp, unexpected sound made him stop. He quickly turned the camera, scanning the trees and underbrush, but at first saw nothing. Then, low on the forest floor, he noticed something. A dark shape was lying there, unclear and hard to identify. He couldn't tell what he was looking at. Some viewers suggested it might be an opossum or another woodland animal resting in the dark. Others pointed out something unusual. If it were a typical animal, it might have reacted and moved away. It could have been an animal seen from a strange angle or something misread in low light. But what was actually lying there in the woods that night? A person staying in a rural area of the French Alps noticed something unusual in the sky late at night. A bright blue light streaked from the clouds toward the ground. The distance and heavy cloud cover made it difficult to tell what was causing it. Some viewers suggested it could be a natural atmospheric effect, like light reflecting through ice crystals or another weather-related event. Others felt it matched descriptions often linked to UFO sightings. It might be a natural phenomenon or something misinterpreted in the sky. But what do you think created that light? A person captured something unusual in the sky, an object that didn't resemble any typical aircraft. Moments later, a helicopter appeared and approached it carefully. Instead of flying past, it began circling the object, as if observing it from different angles. Some believe it could be an experimental drone or a classified aircraft. Others think it might be something more unusual. Similar sightings have been reported in different places, but no clear explanation has been confirmed. It could be advanced technology or something misidentified. But what do you think that object really was? That's all for tonight's video. Which encounter gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Got your own experience? We want to hear it. And whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next.